This is the FANMADE Film Podcast.
Hi, this is Rachel from the FANMADE Film Podcast, the podcast you have probably found yourself listening to right this very moment, otherwise things have gotten weird. This is an unusual episode in that it's extremely short, which anyone who's listened to the other podcasts will know is very out of place. But also, it's just a kind of chat between me and someone very special who will be co-hosting with me from time to time. And I just thought it might be nice to record a bit of what we talk about so you can see a bit of a flavour of, what those co-hosted podcasts are going to be like. And also, we talk about a lot of things that you might be interested in if you're interested in this podcast at all. So I'm going to introduce you now to my very, very good friend of over a decade, Chris Wootton. We used to work together a few years ago, and our love of film and having heated discussions about film kind of brought us together. And he's a great person to talk to. We have very, very different opinions on the sequels, the Star Wars sequels, and we chat about that a little bit in this podcast. But we kick things off in this sort of little intro episode as we've just been speaking to Jamie of Filmumentaries. So I hope you have an enjoyable listen to some of the tangent-led conversations that me and Chris get up to. So enjoy.
I love a good documentary about a movie about the making of a movie that's almost as good as the movie.
Yeah.
And there's very few that I think out there that are that good. And his stuff is it's just brilliant. I thought. You really, if that was on a release of, if they did a brand new release of Raiders, and they had that on there as one of the extras, I'd be over the moon. I'd be sitting there ploughing through that, just this is incredible. And when you talk about a movie which is about a killer shark, that's your movie. One of the best scenes in the whole movie, 3 guys sitting on a boat, talking about scars and drinking.
Mary Ellen Moffat.
Broke my heart.
I want to be on the Orca, drinking whiskey and.
I'd take the Hooper route though. I'd like to be independently wealthy.
Yeah. And also alive at the end of the film.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Roy Scheider was one of my first ever crushes. It was him, Jeff Goldblum, and Roland Rat.
Roland Rat?
Yeah, don't ask me. I couldn't say his name when I was really little. I used to call him Rolly Dar. And I was always asking for Rolly Dar. So, yeah, I don't know what they all have in common, but something.
Well, I mean, I'm struggling to find something in common between Roland Rat and Jeff Goldblum.
Roy Scheider.
Roy Scheider, I just think he's been in some really awesome movies as well.
After Jaws, got super obsessed with Sequest DSV, which was the.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
Fucking love that show.
Fandom initiated.
When you first said about fan movies, my ideas of fan movies, I guess have just been, Troops.
I love Troops.
Or there's always somebody who's got to have a lightsaber fight in the woods or something. It's always just a lightsaber fight, and it's just okay, you can do lightsaber fights, brilliant. It's not just an action scene or a fight scene. It needs to work well within it needs to have a little plot of itself. What's the point in this is why I hate, but this is one of my bugbears about all the Marvel stuff is because no matter what happens, no matter how interesting the story is, it's going to end with somebody being punched in the face while a blue light goes up in the sky.
The people that I've wanted to speak to have made the fan films. They've all had these really, really great stories and really good casting as well. I spoke to the guy who made Rebel Scum, and he was saying, the best kind of short form fan films are that short form, 15 minutes max. They come in on the action and they leave you kind of on the action as well, that there's something untold that happens after the film's over, and that's definitely something that's been a theme throughout the others that I've watched as well. They kind of leave you, it's like that thing, leave you wanting more afterwards.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. That's what you want, really. I mean, they did a load for recently. I think it was to coincide with the release of Alien Covenant, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
That came out, and they did quite a few sort of short Alien movies. Some of those are quite good.
Yeah, I've been trying to find some good Alien universe fan films. And the guy that I'm going to talk to later on this evening is based in LA, and he made Star Wars Destroyer, which is maybe 7 minutes long, and it's fucking great. It's really.
I'll have to check some of these out. I mean,
yeah,
I think maybe with Star Wars, I've not done, because I basically I regress so much. I just went, well, I just want the original cut of the original trilogy, and then I don't want anything else. Don't care.
Yeah.
And I've got that now, and I'm happy. I'm not going to, but then, I'm still, if they did something good, I would watch it and enjoy it. But
yeah, I think it's relying on the fans now to like make the stuff that's good, true to the original trilogy. Like, that's another thing I loved about Rebel Scum. It literally felt like it was lifted from Empire.
Oh, really?
In the way that they filmed it. Like Tim, who's the director, he was talking to me. He said that he really studied Empire and the way George Lucas just films things. Like, it's a static camera, and then each action leads on to a bigger action. And he really studied that and replicated that. And it was shot in Alberta, in Canada, in the depths of winter. And it looks like it is just lifted out of it could be.
I'll give it a watch, definitely.
It's really good, and it's not too long. I think it's like 12 minutes long, maybe around 12 minutes. And I think he made it in 2016 or 15. It's won a bunch of awards. He took it on like a film festival circuit, and it won some awards there as well. I watched Jaws when I was about 8, which is maybe too young, but it was, I've just been
never too young to watch Jaws.
Been obsessed with it ever since then. And then when I found out they had the Jaws ride at Universal in the States, I was like, Jesus, there's a possibility of me actually being that close to one of these like mechanical Bruce sharks. And then I heard the news a couple of years ago, it must have been about 5 years ago or something, that they were shutting down all of the Jaws rides in America so that they could build more Harry Potter land. But yeah, then when me and Dan went to Japan for the first time, he had found out that their Universal Studios still had the Jaws ride, just like it was in the States. I was trying to keep it a secret because we were planning to go there. Obviously, nothing goes past me. I ruin all surprises for me, and found out it was there. And I was seriously, man, I was having dreams leading up to that trip that I was on the ride. I was so freaking excited. Like, it became all consuming in a really worrying way. And then we got there, and there's some photos of me lining up to go on it, just looking like I'm completely beside myself with excitement. I was so nervous I almost couldn't go on it. Like, after
what did you actually think of it though? Because I mean, it's a pretty shitty.
I mean, yeah, the logical part of my brain can see why they shut it down, but the kind of Jaws loving nerd part of me is like, no, like, this is an amazing experience. Dan, because that was the trip Dan proposed to me, he told me afterwards, seriously considering proposing to me on the Jaws ride, and I'm slightly sad that he didn't.
But then at the same time, I don't know, you'd have been all consumed by the actual Jaws ride. Oh, look how it's a shark. Will you?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
The ring.
It is. Oh, yeah, it was good. I definitely wasn't as scared as I wasn't scared on it, but
it's not scary at all.
Have you been on it? Have you been on it?
Yeah, I went on it when I was a kid. When my dad took us. He got made redundant, and with the redundancy money, took us all to Disneyland.
Amazing.
And it was incredible. This would have been 86, I would have thought, 85, 86.
Yeah.
And so basically we turned up at Universal Studios, and when you start the tour, it was all stuff that was relevant at the time. So we got kidnapped by Cylons from Battlestar Galactica as not me personally or me and my brother, but just on the, in the little truck thing.
Yeah.
And then Starbuck and Apollo came in and start firing these lasers, and me and my brother were just sort of, this is just the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And then that goes round to, you go through the parting of the Red Sea, from what I remember, and then eventually you go into the Amity Island bit, which is like the Jaws part.
Yeah.
Did you
go round on a boat, or was it like a?
No, the original one in Los Angeles was, because Universal Studios Los Angeles is where they actually film a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And when you do the backlot tour, you go through it. It treats it like it's part of the backlot tour.
Yeah.
But when I went to Florida, I went to Universal Studios, and they don't. That's more of a theme park, and not a very good one either.
Yeah.
But they've got the boat ride one.
Yeah, that's the one I went on. That's the one they've got in Japan.
I just love the fact that if you want to know why movies then are better than they are now, is just you see the way the whole production works. Spielberg leaves them to get on with. He tells them what they want, and he tells them what he wants, and then he asks them, is this doable, or what problems are you going to have? And he understands like each department.
Yeah.
And the amount of passion that goes into it is. Well, you never watched the Mr. Plinkett reviews, did you, for the Star Wars prequels?
No, I don't think so. No.
Red Letter Media. They sum it up perfectly for me in one bit in Revenge of the Sith, where they're talking about how Anakin has worked out that Palpatine is the Emperor or the Sith Lord or whatever, and he's talking to Mace Windu, and it's supposed to be, you imagine this moment where they're like, this is, oh my God, we've got to stop him, and you'd think they'd be like running off and sort of and when they film it, it's just they've only got a short amount of space to actually move in, so they've got to. So if you look in every scene in the prequels, most of the time they're walking.
Yeah.
They talk, they walk, they sit down, and that's only because they've got 20 yards of green screen to play with. So you lose all that tension, you lose everything. It's just people walking around.
Like, because people don't just act, like actors don't just act and feed off each other. They act and feed off what's around them as well. So, if there's a window, if there's, some kind of like sounds or something, they'll draw on that for their performance. And if it's not there, then you're kind of taking away another tool that the actors can use, I guess.
Yeah. I actually feel quite sorry for actors now, because I feel like it's most of the work is coming down to them, because you got, if you're just standing in front of a green screen, it's just sort of, they must be told, like, imagine that there's this there, or imagine that you're looking out this window, and outside of the window there's that, and we're going to put it all in later.
Yeah.
And you've got to be really, that doesn't. So it's my job to try and convey everything that you haven't done yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I think out of the prequels, I do I enjoy most the Revenge of the Sith, the last one.
Yeah, I do.
I still struggle with that whole final lightsaber fight because it's like, mate, that looks so fucking hot. They're not even cracking a sweat. I know they're Jedi and stuff, but
endless sort of. Let me know when it's over.
I was talking to a guy called Carlos Bollinger about his fan film last week. His fan film's called Jedi's Code, and they filmed it just outside of Brighton near Berlin Gap. and he was talking about the style of lightsaber fight that they have in that film. And he was like, I kind of wanted it to be quite similar to the original's style of lightsaber battling, where it was like kind of quite fencing like.
Yeah.
So you know the fight in A New Hope with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan is just kind of like whack.
Yeah.
And he was like, that just felt a little bit more like genuinely character driven. It was like, it's not just because they're having a shit, because they can't have a bouncing around all over the place lightsaber battle. Sure, they can do that, but Obi-Wan, you can safely assume that he knows that he's gonna die or pass into the Force or whatever, and that he's buying time for the guys to escape. And Darth Vader, I don't know, like it's the lightsaber battle and the style and how it is decided by the character and the story, and now the new ones are kind of like the other way around.
Well, when you want the action scene to be over, just give Rey a new force power. What's the point? They're so powerful in the new universe that there's no point in them fighting with lightsabers, or as they call them now, laser swords.
Laser swords.
They're not laser swords, they're lightsabers. It's a saber, it's a specific weapon for the Jedi. It's elegant, It's not just like, poo, poo, poo.
Not for attack, but for defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A Jedi's weapon is his mind.
There's so many things. I think the new sequel trilogy had me up until Rise of Skywalker, pretty much, and then that happened, and it and honestly, I respect people who enjoy it. Like, I'm never gonna attack people who enjoy something.
I am.
You're on the dark side of the Force, and you'll do it for me. But like, from my perspective, there was all kinds of things wrong with that film, and it definitely broke Star Wars from me. I was in at the end of Rise of Skywalker. I was probably where you were when you saw the prequels, I guess, or maybe Force Awakens.
I didn't have any preconceptions going into Force Awakens, and I thought it was all right. I thought it seems a bit weird that they've just remade A New Hope, but I genuinely liked the characters, and I was interested to see where the characters went next.
You and I probably agree on most things Star Wars at this point, other than The Last Jedi. Because
I've been thinking about this, and I thought I've got no problem with The Last Jedi trying to do something different. Like introducing space petrol, but we'll leave that there. But if I don't know, if The Last Jedi was sort of done as maybe the first one, or or something, there's just nothing to build from in The Last Jedi. When it ends, it's like the end of the trilogy.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It does kind of feel like they could end it. I think there are things that haven't been wrapped up. Something that does bug me a lot is that First Order have decimated the Resistance. No one's come when Leia, like face of the rebellion, the Resistance, all of it has called out to the universe. You get to Rise of Skywalker. I know you haven't seen it, and you probably don't care about spoilers.
No, I don't.
But you get to Rise of Skywalker, and you send out Lando Calrissian to call to the galaxy for help, and like a whole fucking galactic fleet turns up right at the, obviously the right moment and stuff, with all of these like amazing ships from Star Wars, all kinds of Star Wars content, Rebels, Clone Wars, all of that kind of stuff. That, Leia, the most important person in this whole thing at this point, kind of calls for help and no one comes.
Well, that just goes to show you how charming Lando is.
That's true, actually, yeah.
Leia's pretty bland in the new ones. Yeah, but it bothers me. Bothers me a lot.
I know, man. I know.
This is the Fan-Made Film Podcast.